more people are living with fatigue, bloating, high blood pressure, diabetes, and chronic inflammation than ever before. Yet, many of the answers may lie in the everyday things we overlook. The food we eat, how we sleep, how we move, and the health of the gut itself. As research continues to uncover the connection between gut health, immunity, and chronic disease, a growing number of practitioners are returning to simpler, more sustainable approaches to wellness. With more than 20 years of experience across the United States and Nigeria, clinical nutrition consultant and gut health practitioner Sherese Ijewere has spent decades helping people understand the relationship between food, lifestyle, and long-term health. Originally from Jamaica and now based in Nigeria, she founded Carib Health to promote a more holistic and culturally grounded approach to well-being. In this chapter, she explores what it means to nourish the body in a way that supports healing, energy, and resilience through food, lifestyle, and consistency.
My name is Sherese Ijewere. I am a clinical nutrition consultant, a gut health and lifestyle medicine practitioner.
How did you get into this space, and what prompted you to also start or found Carib Health?
I'm a nurse, and when I met my husband, we set up a clinic, and we were seeing a lot of patients with lifestyle ailments. So high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, kidney issues. And we realized that these lifestyle ailments were specifically related to food. And so he encouraged me to go back to school, read on nutrition. And so I got a bachelor's in nutrition and dietetics, and then took it from there. And after that, did a lot of different courses in lifestyle medicine, gut health, microbial health, and have been able to successfully help our patients. So moving to Nigeria, we moved with our 4 children, and the children were my core primary responsibility. However, my husband felt like I also needed to, inculcate myself into the society. So he introduced me to a couple of his colleagues, and one of them being a cardiologist who had just moved back from the US. And so introduced myself and see where I could make myself available to his clinic while the children were in school, and started consulting just from like 8 to 2 on 2 days a week. And then it became 3 days a week. And so we saw that the Nigerians were very much welcoming to the consultation and to the advice and information given, and then started to change your lifestyle and see results.
What was the core of the consultations? Was it largely just around food and gut health, or
mainly nutrition? So nutrition, looking at the age group, heart disease. Are they indicators that they may be leading towards maybe stroke or heart attack? And how do we bring this back in so that there can be balance and they can be in a better phase of their life, more energy? Because these patients who presented to the cardiac clinic were presenting with high blood pressure, fatigue, tired all the time, and then also pot belly, just type of presentation that a lot of people are dealing with.
A lot of their ailments were stemming from actual lifestyle.
Yes, and the actual lifestyle can then, start to promote things like the high blood pressure, which then is a sibling of diabetes, which then, before you know it, you end up with stroke or heart attack. So to prevent all of this, the foundation of nutrition comes in, the patient understands, and then they start practicing how to, come into this lifestyle changes so they can have better health.
What would you say has been the biggest thing that you've observed from your time, coming to Nigeria, and then this consultations you've been having as well, from the changes?
The biggest changes, I would say mindset. So mindset, a lot of people have a fixed mindset when it comes to food, like this is my way, this is how I've been doing it, what are you saying? But when ailments start to come in the picture, people are in the listening. So when they realize that blood pressure is up and now they have to take 3 medications, or cholesterol is up, and that their cardiologist is saying, listen, you need to listen to these lifestyle changes. be it food, be it mindset, be it exercise, even the mindset around exercise. People feel like, oh, it's a chore, I can't do it. But really, all you need to do is something fun. And it could just be walking, it could be dancing, it could be bouncing on a trampoline, or, going to the gym. Whatever it is that you enjoy, just make sure you're active.
A lot of people think that eating well is expensive and unrealistic. What would your response to that be?
What price is more? Is it health or is it, your food? There's always a price to pay. You either pay it up front with good health and behavior, or you pay it later when sickness shows up. So it's kind of a relative question. I would say, though, that when it comes to food and it being affordable, let's look at sustainable practices, maybe planting things into a pot, maybe going into a office co-op where everyone in the office is ordering from an organic source and then that can be split, or even looking into organic markets. So we have organic markets on the island in Nigeria, and we also have organic markets on the mainland. And so for our clients, we plug them into these organic markets where we know that people who are sustainably practicing organic, agriculture, they've been certified. You feel good that you're purchasing the right thing. And if this means that you're purchasing them every weekend and it's lasting you all week, when you're planning ahead, there's more affordability in planning ahead as well.
Just based off of what you said on eating well, how would you define eating well in a sustainable way as well for everyday people?
For everyday people, one, get your 5 a day. For example, in a day, if you're eating between 10 and 6, because you want to eat when the sun is up, not when the sun is down. So it works better with your body. So 10 and 6, you have things that are in your environment. So our local produce, and it could be from things like tamba or acha, and then you have your fruits with it, and maybe for lunchtime you have your soup, your swallow. For evening, you can have something local. Maybe it's cabbage, maybe it's pepper soup. Some people eat 3 times a day, some people eat 2 times a day. One doesn't need to be eating all day, and sometimes people think that eating healthy is taking things that are imported. We're talking about eating from our local soil.
So you've mentioned a couple of things. So acha, waking up in the morning, eating fruit, slightly more practical. Let's say we're working through a day in your life. What would that look like in terms of, okay, at this time, this is what you eat for lunch, and then to end the day
Okay,
as well?
so when I wake up in the morning, I have my water bottle. I drink about 1.5 liters of water. I will have that until 12 noon because I just eat between 12 and 6. So 12 noon, I will eat with my husband. We may have soup and swallow. It might be okra, it might be ewedu, it might be efo. I love sweet potato, so that orange flesh sweet potato I will eat. He may eat the eba or the pounded yam. I'll also eat that. In between, if I want a snack, it might be the agbalamo, it might be the orange, it might be mango, it might be pawpaw or pomegranate. And then before you know it, it's about 5 o'clock. I'll eat dinner at 5, and it will be definitely a big salad. So I always eat a salad for dinner, and then I would have either fish or chicken. Sometimes I'll have eggs in. Sometimes we will have the salad, and then we'll have a main meal after that. And then we're active until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're just drinking water. We might drink tea, and that's it. Yes. And so one thing that I've noticed with eating healthy is that I won't crave snacks. So I won't be eating chips or candy or chocolate because the nutrients that I've had in the lunch and the dinner meal has sustained me.
From what you said out, that means our swallows are not the enemy.
So they're not the enemy. And the key is have these swallows early in the daytime. So before 3, as much as possible.
What role does gut health play in energy, mood, and also immunity as well?
Yes, gut health is a big, big thing. So you have the gut-brain connection, and so your gut is tied to your whole alimentary canal, which is from your mouth all the way down to your anus. And so it has trillions of microbes, bacteria, fungi. They all have to live in harmony. And when it comes to gut health, you want things to be balanced within your gut, your stomach, everything going down. When it comes to your immunity, your energy, your mental health, if there is imbalance, that's when you have forgetfulness, that's when you have bloating, tiredness, immune system is low and you get sick often. And so the gut health is tied closely with the foods that you're eating. And of course, the foods that you're eating is giving you energy. But what type of foods are you eating? Is it fueling the body or is it harming the body? And when we're looking at foods that fuel the body, we're looking at natural foods. So going back to things like the green vegetables, the high fibers, the plantain, the sweet potato, the yam, those are the things that are energy givers. When we're looking at things like grains, for example, something that people eat a lot of is rice. They will have rice for morning, lunch, and evening. That rice has been polished, it has been bleached, it has been husked. Sometimes it has been parboiled. So you can imagine all those processes are taking off the nutritional value from that grain. And so when it takes the nutritional value off, it causes a nutrient deficiency, because as you're digesting this food, it needs magnesium, it needs selenium, it needs zinc. And so it's taking from your own reserves, which now depletes you, which now puts you into the stance of, oh, my immune system is low. Everything that crosses by, it's like I'm sick this week, I'm sick next week, one thing or the other.
How do we stay consistent in ensuring that we have a healthy gut?
Good question. So one, you want to take in the natural foods. You want to take in fermented foods. So we have things like yogurt, we have iru, we have pap, the guinea corn and corn. Those things have to play a constant role. And we advise people, have a meal plan, because when you don't plan, you fall into all the other things that are out there, and all the other things that are there are usually processed. The processed foods that have preservatives, chemicals, do cause an imbalance with your gut health and the gut microbes. And if you can eat organic as possible. Another thing when it comes to gut health is your hydration. So taking in 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. Also your exercise, so walking, going outside, getting some sunshine, and most importantly, your sleep. Because sleep is when the body repairs itself. So you need to get adequate sleep daily, and that's like minimum 6-7 hours a day for adequate sleep and recovery of all those cells and, taking down and so forth.
The amount of sleep that a person requires, is that also dependent on individuals? Or is there like a baseline for what good sleep should be?
Kind of a baseline. So you know that children need at least like 13 hours of sleep. And then by the time you get into teenage years and uni and then adult life, we need 7 to 8 hours of sleep is what's recommended for the body to repair itself. And we're talking about sleep at night.
At night. Okay, at night. So naps during the day don't count?
Naps are good. So naps kind of like give you a little second win or a boost, but it doesn't replace the core sleep that you need, because healing takes place between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. It's like if you miss that window, sometimes you still wake up a little bit tired and, not in your best energy.
So our bodies have natural clocks?
Yes, absolutely. That natural circadian rhythm, yes.
How can people work with local familiar foods to support their health? So I know you've mentioned things like pap, iru. Are there other things that are very locally available to Nigerians?
Yes, very locally available is our beans. And one eye-opening thing that I realize is that though we have many variety of beans, because that's also a key to gut health, is having a diversified diet, is the beans. We have beans in brown, white, black, red. However, we're eating the same type of beans every single time. It might be the brown beans or the white beans. These beans can be cooked in different ways, and it would be good that one gets the different colors because they're all providing a different nutritional value to you. There's also lentils. So those who can't tolerate beans so well, maybe you soak it the night before, or maybe you just try the lentils, eat the beans earlier in the day, and always eat the beans with vegetables, because the vegetables also help it to break down, help it to digest better.
What does balance look like when life gets really busy and budgets are really tight as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So as I mentioned before, planning ahead is key, because when you plan ahead, you also save money. And so a balanced diet, we give the example as nutritionists and dietitians that your stomach is the size of your two hands put together. So you at a meal shouldn't be eating more than this. However, half of your plate must always be vegetable. And that vegetable could either be in the raw form of lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, things that are readily available, or it could be cabbage, things that could stay a bit longer, the steamed cabbage or the spinach. Half of your plate would be with vegetable, and then the other half would be split in two, your protein and then your carb. So your carb could be the plantain, the sweet potato, or the cassava, and then you have your protein, either that's the beans or the fish or the chicken, whatever it is. And then also to note that these legumes, though they are proteinous, they also have carbohydrates as well. So the balance there is very important, that you're putting the vegetables on your plate every single time.
Okay, so daily we should be eating vegetables every single day.
Yes, and those vegetables help to prevent constipation, help to prevent things like pile or bloating. It just depends on how balanced your gut is, because your body is constantly speaking to you. And so it could speak to you with showing symptoms or signs of diarrhea, bloating. It could be acne. It could just be rashes on the skin, or maybe issues with the hair or the nails. Your body is constantly like sending you messages.
Okay. So you've mentioned some of these things that happen to our bodies, but what are some long-term effects of neglecting nutrition for a long period of time?
So those long-term effects, because you see, when disease shows up, it doesn't show up like yesterday or today. It has been brewing for years. So if one is snacking a lot, eating a lot of fast foods, a lot of processed foods, gradually, the body is very forgiving, but gradually it starts to add up, where you start to feel fatigued, or maybe you notice you can't remember things, or maybe you have a pain or an ache, because not only are we looking at nutrition, but we're also looking at the pillars of wellness, which is spirituality. And that includes forgiveness. Maybe someone has hurt you, or you're grudgeful, or just not forgiving of one thing or the other, resentment. There is the mindset, how you're looking at things. The nutrition, of course, the lifestyle. So your sleep, your going outside in the sunshine, all of these play a role on the entire body. So the nutrients in the body, the micronutrients in the body are constantly used. So if you are tired, or if you're stressed, micronutrients are being pulled from your reserves, and bit by bit, they start to dip even lower. So things like your vitamin D, that's responsible for your hormones, your appetite, your metabolic process, your sleep. Like vitamin D is a critical micronutrient that plays a role in wellness. And so if one is not paying attention to, the pillars of wellness, gradually things start to decline. And by the time disease shows up, either we're able to help reverse it in time, or If it's something like cancer, it plays kind of like this, depending on how soon you get help or whatever condition your body is in at that time. But one thing to know is that the body is very resilient, very forgiving. So it doesn't matter what age you are or what parts of phase of life you're in, you can always start to put in the goodness and gain back some of the years.
But we need to also recognize these things so it doesn't get too late.
Yes, and that's why we say when it comes to parenting, by the time you want to have children, your fertility doesn't start then. It starts from when you're in secondary school or as you were growing up. You're, trying to nurture your body and preserve your body for that time from that moment.
Just because you've mentioned fertility, so we're finding a lot of younger people now are having a lot of fertility issues. So that's stemming from the lifestyles that we've had growing up.
Yes, from lifestyle. So what I have noticed with parenting and schools and so forth is that parents are very busy. They have no time. And one has to be intentional and make and create the time. Otherwise, you fall into convenience, and convenience looks like the convenience foods. Your children, they're not running around in the sunshine. They're sitting down on the iPads and the devices. They're not getting enough sleep. So it's like a chronic, let me call it malnutrition or state of deficiency that happens. And then by the time they get to the adult life, it's like, the reserves are tired, their periods are not coming as regularly as it should. Maybe they're going through hormonal issues because when you don't eat well, definitely the hormones will be affected. And it doesn't show up immediately. It's a over time period, a pattern that you notice. It may come 1 month, it may not come, or certain symptoms start to, manifest that you're like, hey, what is this? And, just to lead into things like even fibroids. Fibroids is not something that you were born with. So it's something that along the way, as you've grown up, the lifestyle, the different factors in the lifestyle that may have caused this pathway to open up. And before you know it, you're like, I have fibroids? Like how?
Okay, from your years in practice, what food-related issues would you say show up the most often?
Gut health issues. So people now eat a lot of bread. They eat a lot of rice. I mean, like bread features as something that's second nature, and the bread industry, the recipe has changed over time. So now there's more sugar in bread. It's more refined flour. It's easy for someone to just take a soft loaf of bread and eat the whole thing. And meantime, remember I mentioned with the rice, same with the flour, where it's refined, it has gone through milling process. All that's left is just that white flour, which doesn't have the nutritional value that the body needs to pick up the micronutrients. So we find that people, even children, have a lot of constipation issues, bloating, weight gain. We're seeing a lot of metabolic dysfunction in children. So we see childhood obesity, at an earlier age now. We're also seeing diabetes, juvenile diabetes in children. Meantime, we didn't see that, years ago. It was mainly adults, maybe past 40, past 50 that, diabetes would show up. Now we're seeing it in 6-year-olds. Really scary. And of course, parents, we are to take the responsibility. However, if they don't know, it's like feeding the child the same thing all the time.
Because kids eat bread almost every day.
Yes. And schools are locking down. Schools are putting in some protocols that say, okay, let's make sure your fruit is packed. Let's make sure that you have a nutritious meal for school. No soft drinks. Because in the matter of convenience, conversation of convenience, parents will pack the soft drinks for their children going to school. And maybe when you were growing up, you may not even remember having soft drinks as often. But right now, children have soft drinks just about every day.
Okay. So apart from gut health issues, or do gut health issues now translate to other things for adults, for example?
Yes. So gut health, whatever you're putting in your mouth, can translate to the hypertension because of too much sodium, or it can translate to too much sugar, which now is the juvenile diabetes. And then the obesity also brings its own issues of predisposing you to cancer, to arthritis, to different inflammatory processes within the body. Even things such as just a simple thing like headache. People have chronic headaches. Another thing that we see, especially in adolescents, is yeast infections or vaginal infections. So when we look at the pillars of wellness from the spirituality, the mindset, nutrition, lifestyle, environment, we're also looking at what are people using as sanitary napkins? What are they using as body creams? Because so many ingredients and preservatives and chemicals have been mixed together, and we're using it. And our skin is the largest organ of the body. Our skin breathes. So whatever you're putting on the skin also goes into the bloodstream. So it's almost a 360 effect where you're putting on your mouth, you're putting on your skin. Whatever you put on your skin, we say that you should be able to eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even, so we're consuming from our mouths and we're also consuming from our skin as well.
And now the narrative is all about beauty and aesthetics and, you know, the billboards, and we see the young children wanting to look a certain way, and the chemicals are there to make them look a certain way. We've even had conversations where parents want the children to be a lighter skin. They will put that cream on the child that might be 2 or 3. So we're also saying, read your ingredients, be knowledgeable, be proud to be Black, be proud to be dark skin. It's okay, we come of all different shades and colors, but we need to make our young children proud of, you know, being who they are and standing up for what is right.
So it's not bad to use certain things, we just need to know what we're consuming.
Yes, 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 yes.
Have you seen any measurable improvements when people make small, consistent changes?
Yes, measurable improvements. One is when it comes to routine and habits. When you come for a consultation with us, we take your history, we get to know you a bit better, look at your lifestyle. This is all without judgment. And then we put together a plan of action, help you with just recognizing where you are, some of the things that you may need to pair together. So for example, if you, when you wake up in the morning, from the night before, you would have your water by your bed. So that wake up means drink water. So just kind of like connecting the dots for you. Taking your supplements, if it is that you're deficient in anything. Pairing exercise, we just call it movement because some people have a thing about the word exercise. So we're just like, just move your body. And so when you come home from work or when you're leaving work, have your gym clothes in your bag, just put on your gear then. So by the time you get home, you get in the gym or you start with your walking or you start the day with, you know, your movement so that at least you know you've gotten it in.
Just because you mentioned movement, so some people, not everyone gets to go to the gym, right? So are there things that people can do to ensure that they're actually keeping their bodies active as well?
Yes, absolutely. So one can walk in their estate or their neighborhood, or you could get a mini trampoline, which is like you have a rebounder where you do a health bounce on daily. You could also just put on music, Afro beats, dance. And one of the things that we encourage patients to get is a pedometer, because the pedometer helps you to be accountable. So you were to get 10,000 steps at least 5 days a week. We push and say, okay, try 6. So in case you fall off on one day, and you don't have to do 10,000 steps in one sitting or standing. You can do half in the morning, half in the evening. The main thing is just making sure that you're active and you're doing more standing versus sitting.
Especially for people, I work from home and I probably spend maybe 7 to 8 hours behind the desk.
Which is inside. Yeah, so we need to get outside in the sunshine more often and just plan it where you know that, okay, when I wake up, I'm going to meditate, drink my water, go outside for 30 minutes, and then maybe do the same thing in the evening. And then we encourage people, definitely get your vitamin D levels checked you would be so surprised. Once that vitamin D level is into the normal range, then you find that the energy is there, you feel good, you're motivated, you're happy, appetite is not crazy. Everything is just in line and balanced. So the small things and the small tips that we give our clients, once they do it, they're so happy and so amazed that it's just the little things that makes a difference.
What surprises clients most once they start paying attention to their gut health?
They notice that they just have more energy. They feel better. They feel less stressed as well, because stress also is closely correlated with gut health. You know how you say you have a gut feeling about something, or if something is going wrong, your stomach is like in a knot? Yeah, so clients notice that once they change their diet and the sleep, things seem to improve drastically. Yeah, and they feel so much better that on their own, they will just continue that lifestyle. And once they feel that they've tipped off, or maybe they've gone to a party or one thing or the other, then they will come back to us. We do things such as gut cleanses, which is kind of like a deworming of your digestive system, a resetting, detoxing. We help to reset that system so that at least you can get the benefits. And then once it starts to get clogged again, you yourself know, and then you will come back to us and we'll help navigate you again.
But there are tiny changes we can make at home individually to reset our gut health as well.
Yes, and one is with the water, with fasting. So we encourage our clients to do the intermittent fasting, either an 18-hour fast, 16-hour fast, 20-hour fast. We just work with their schedule and how intense they want us to be, and they see changes just with that.
What are some of the healing benefits of fasting?
So many. One is that, of course, it's resetting your system. It's helping to detox your liver, helps to reduce your cholesterol, your blood pressure. You just feel like you're in a better space with fasting, with the intermittent fasting. And the body just feels like it's rejuvenated and revived again.
If someone wanted to start supporting their body from today through food, what would you say they should begin?
Begin with water. Yes, always begin with water. And just those little changes of mastering things like the water also makes a big difference, within the system.
Perhaps wellness is not found in extremes, but in the small things we practice consistently. The meals we prepare, the rest we allow ourselves, and the choices that we make every day. As research continues to deepen our understanding of nutrition, gut health, sleep, stress, and chronic disease, one thing is becoming increasingly clear: the body responds to how we care for it. And over time, it remembers.